My family kicked me out over a lie, then begged me to save their failing business. I was cast aside by my family because of my sister's golden success, and now she's the one asking for help as our family business crumbles. Hi Reddit, I'm 32F, and I never imagined I'd be sharing my story with the world, but here I am. My life took an unexpected turn in a way I couldn't have foreseen. My parents kicked me out of the house. Why? Because I managed to fund my MBA all on my own without their financial support, and my sister, 36, who's always been their golden child, couldn't handle it. It's a long story, but I feel the need to share it here. Maybe get some advice or just some virtual support. Let me explain the dynamics of my family. I've always been the underdog, the one who didn't quite fit in. From the very start, it was clear that my sister was the favorite. Growing up just outside Chicago, my parents practically threw a party if she got an A. If I brought home an A, the reaction was, "Oh, that's nice, what's for dinner?" Madison, my sister, was always the center of attention. She seemed to excel at everything with little effort. She was more attractive, outgoing, and talented. She starred in school plays, was the captain of sports teams, and had perfect grades. I was the shy, studious kid who'd rather be coding in my room than drawing attention to myself. My parents treated Madison like she was some kind of prodigy. When she went to a prestigious business school, they covered everything: tuition, clothes, an apartment in a nice area, even her trips to Cancun. They couldn't stop talking about how proud they were of their successful daughter. Meanwhile, I kept my head down, assuming I'd have to go it alone. Despite working part-time jobs and taking out loans, I managed to graduate with honors in computer science. But did I get any praise? No. My mother merely said, "That's nice, dear. Have you seen Madison's graduation pictures? She looked stunning." Now, I've been managing projects for a digital company for the past few years. It's a stable job, but I'm aiming for more. I dream of starting my own business, advancing in my career, or even stepping into a top management position. So I decided to apply for an MBA at a well-respected university. The problem? The tuition was in the six-figure range. I thought maybe my parents would help me out since they had covered Madison's entire education. One evening after dinner, I brought it up. But instead of support, I was met with talk about Madison's latest accomplishment with the family restaurant. I laid out my plan for the MBA, explained how it would boost my career, and brought up the topic of tuition. Their faces, like I had asked them to sell their organs or something. They flat out told me they couldn't help with the cost, which I understood. MBs are expensive. But when they refused to even co-sign a loan for me, that's what really hurt. I wasn't asking for a handout. I just didn't want to be drowning in debt forever. We've already funded Madison's education. Now, it's time to focus on our future. And to make matters worse, they were sinking all their money into expanding the family restaurant. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You can afford to pay for Madison's whole education, but not even co-sign a loan for me. I asked, trying to remain calm, but Madison's education was an investment in the family business. My mom looked at me and said, "You have an MBA, that's just for you, right?" Just for me, as if they didn't care about my success at all. I was stunned. It felt like my parents were intentionally putting obstacles in my way, but I didn't want to miss this chance. They were happy to spend money on Madison, but treated me as an afterthought. Left with no other option, I turned to my Diane. My dad's older sister, Diane, is nothing like my parents. She's much more successful, a neurosurgeon, and always been kind to me. While my parents always seemed resentful of her, I could always count on her. There were awkward family dinners where my dad would accuse her of being arrogant, but I never really got involved. But now, I was desperate. I called her to ask if she might be able to help me with the tuition. I explained the situation and how much this MBA meant to me. Without hesitation, Diane said, "Of course I'll help. Why didn't you ask me earlier? It would be an honor to invest in your future. I've always believed in you." I felt so thankful but also nervous. If my dad found out, he would explode. So to keep it quiet, I asked Diane to keep this between us, knowing how complicated things could get. She agreed. For a while, everything went smoothly. My tuition was paid, and I was getting ready to start my MBA program. I felt both anxious and excited for the future. For once, I felt like I was winning. That is, until Madison ruined everything. I still don't know exactly how she found out that Diane was helping. Maybe she snooped through my emails or overheard a conversation. But somehow she discovered it, and being the golden child, she couldn't let it go. She had to make it into a dramatic show. One evening, I was coming home, eager to tell my parents about my MBA but as soon as I stepped inside, something felt off. The house was unnaturally quiet, and there was a thick tension in the air. My heart sank as I walked to the living room. Everything I owned, books, clothes, even my bedding, was packed into boxes. It felt like the house was erasing me. Madison stood there, smug and self-satisfied, while my parents sat on the couch, their faces a mix of anger and disappointment. I felt like I had walked into a twisted intervention. My father wasted no time explaining. He tossed a stack of papers at me, and I picked them up, confused. Madison had fabricated a series of emails between Diane and me, making it look like I had betrayed the family. The emails suggested I had shared sensitive information about our family restaurant with her in exchange for tuition, help, recipes, supplier details, and financials. None of this was true. I had no access to any of those things, but Madison did. My mind was reeling. After searching through my laptop, Madison had altered emails I'd sent to Diane using Photoshop or some other program and turned me into a traitor. I couldn't believe it. "These aren't real," I protested. "These emails are fake. I would never do this." But my parents didn't listen. My mom was crying, and my dad was furious, shouting, "We trusted you, and you stabbed us in the back." They believed Madison without question. No matter what I said, they would always side with her. It was like I no longer existed, and all the years I had spent trying to be a good daughter, working hard, and avoiding trouble didn't matter. In that moment, I knew I would always be second in their eyes. My dad coldly said, "You need to leave. We won't have a traitor in this house." I begged them to reconsider. I tried to explain that Diane was only helping me just like they had helped Madison, but they refused to listen. I didn't want to burden Diane any more than I already had, especially since she had already covered my tuition. They called me a traitor, refused to speak to me, and Madison just stood there, wearing that arrogant expression. She had won. The sister she had always seen as a rival was finally gone. That was it. All I had left were a few boxes of personal items and the clothes on my back. As I hurriedly packed my car, I noticed the neighbors peeking through their windows, likely curious about the drama unfolding. I felt completely alone, betrayed, and utterly embarrassed. Once I was in my car, I immediately called Diane, crying so hard that I could barely speak. Without hesitation, she told me to come to her place right away. I honestly don't know how I would have gotten through it without her. I'm currently staying at Diane's apartment, and she's been incredibly supportive, both offering me a roof over my head and assuring me that she still wants to help with my MBA. She's been a true pillar of strength for me, but I'll never forget that night. Madison, standing there with that smug look on her face, knowing she had won. My parents glaring at me as though I was a criminal, and my belongings packed away as if I was being erased from the house. I don't know what to do now. Reddit. Part of me wants to fight back and prove that Madison was lying. If I search hard enough, I'm sure I could find evidence that the emails were fake, but at the same time, I wonder if it's worth the effort. Why should I even bother fighting for their approval when they were so quick to throw me away? How could I have possibly misread everything? How could I have been so blind to the fact that my family could treat me like this? The MBA program is about to start and I should be excited, but I'm still reeling from the emotional turmoil. I keep replaying everything in my mind, questioning if I missed any signs. Was Madison always this manipulative? Were my parents always this eager to abandon me? How can I trust anyone again after this? Diane has advised me to focus on the opportunities my MBA will open up for me. And while it's hard to think beyond the pain and anger, she says that success will be the best revenge. I could really use some advice right now. How do I rebuild my life when my own sister went to such lengths to destroy me? How do I move on when I feel so broken? How do I face my classmates and instructors in my MBA program knowing that part of me is still wounded? I feel like I'm drowning. Can anyone throw me a lifeline? It's been 3 years since I last shared my story with you, Reddit. A lot has happened since then, and I want to update you on how things have progressed. I finished my MBA and it had a profound impact on me. When I first started, I was in such an emotional mess, but I channeled all that pain into my studies. I graduated at the top of my class, but it wasn't easy. The girl who always felt inferior has been replaced by someone who is confident and unapologetic about her achievements. After graduation, I landed a job at a prestigious consulting firm, and I love it. It's tough, but for the first time in my life, my skills and hard work are truly valued. I'm no longer living in anyone's shadow. Throughout this journey, Diane has been my constant. She's become the family I never had, not just offering me a place to stay, but also being there emotionally. We've had many dinners together, discussing everything from her fascinating medical cases to my latest work achieved. I've learned so much from her, not just professionally, but also about standing up for myself and recognizing my own worth. It's been 3 years without hearing a word from Madison or my parents. No texts, no calls, nothing. At first, it was hard, but over time, I realized their silence was giving me the space I needed to grow in ways I never could have while still under their influence. I've built a life I'm proud of, one that doesn't need their approval or constant comparisons. But life, as always, has a way of surprising me. Just when I thought everything was settled, Madison showed up at my door. Honestly, I almost didn't recognize her. The air of superiority was gone, replaced by a more defeated version of herself. She was dressed casually in old jeans and a worn sweater, with dark circles under her eyes and her hair in a messy bun. She looked exhausted. "Hey," she said in a soft voice, "can we talk?" I wanted to slam the door in her face, but I opened it instead. She sat down on the couch, nervously shifting around. After a long silence, she finally spoke. "I need your help," she said. "The family business, it's in real trouble." She explained that the restaurant, which our parents had spent years planning to expand, was about to go bankrupt. They had over-leveraged themselves, taken out huge loans, and now they were drowning in debt. "Dad's talking about bankruptcy," Madison said, her voice breaking. "Mom's a mess, and I don't know what to do." Listening to her, I felt a mix of emotions. Part of me felt a sick sense of satisfaction. Was this karma for the way they treated me? But there was also a strange, almost reluctant empathy. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "What do you expect from me?" Her eyes were filled with desperation. "You're doing well with your job and your MBA. I thought maybe you could help, offer some advice, or—" I knew exactly what she was asking for. She wanted money. The golden child needed saving from the black sheep. The irony was nearly unbearable. I asked, keeping my voice calm, "Let me get this straight. After everything that's happened, after 3 years of no contact, you show up asking for help." She looked embarrassed, but she didn't back down. "I know I messed up," she said quietly. "I was jealous. You were always so capable, so smart. I lost it when I found out Diane was helping you. I'm sorry." 3 years, and all she could say was, "I'm sorry." It wasn't nearly enough. "Sorry doesn't cut it, Madison," I said. "You have no idea what I went through because of what you did." "I know," she said, tears welling in her eyes. "But we're still family, right? Families support each other. Please just think about it. Family. That word hit me like a ton of bricks. After everything that's happened, were we really still family?" "I need time to think," I told her. She left her number and left, a disappointed look on her face. And now, here I am trying to decide what to do. On one hand, I've worked so hard to build this new life for myself, free from all the drama, the comparisons, and the feelings of inadequacy. Do I really want to get tangled up in all of that again? But on the other hand, a small part of me still cares. When I think about my parents' business failing, I feel something. Not exactly pity, but not indifference either. However, a part of me sees this as an opportunity to show them what they lost when they rejected me, to prove once and for all that I am not the failure they've always believed me to be. But then, I question, is it worth it after everything they put me through? Do I owe them anything? Would anything really change even if I did offer my help? Or would I always remain the second-best daughter no matter what? Reddit, I'm torn. If you were in my shoes, how would you respond? Should I stand up for myself and let my family handle their own issues, or should I step in, risking getting hurt again? I've been wrestling with these thoughts for days, and I'm still unsure. Part of me wants to help, to lend a hand, and maybe even mend our relationship on more equal terms. But another part of me is screaming to walk away. I'm still healing from the deep wounds they caused. Do I really want to expose myself to that pain again? I've talked to Diane about it. She's been her usual supportive self, telling me she'll be there no matter what, but she also warned me. She said sometimes helping others means sacrificing yourself. She urged me to be careful not to burn myself out for their sake. I've been distracted lately, and my coworkers have noticed. Some of them have been sympathetic, though I haven't shared the details with them. One of them told me sometimes the most professional thing you can do is to keep your personal life separate from your work. That statement has stuck with me. The MBA courses on crisis management and corporate turnarounds keep running through my mind. I know I could help them, probably even come up with a plan to turn things around, but should I? Do I really owe them anything? And what about Madison's apologies? Is that enough, or is this just another manipulation? I'm also worried about how this might affect my own financial stability. While I'm doing okay now, I'm not exactly rolling in money. Helping them might jeopardize my future goals. One thing's clear, whatever I decide, it'll be on my terms. I'm no longer that insecure, terrified girl. No matter what happens with my family, I'll always be a strong, accomplished woman who knows her worth. What do you think, Reddit? Should I put my own health first and let my family deal with the consequences of their actions, or should I offer my help? I could really use an outside perspective on this. It's me again, Reddit. Things have taken an unexpected turn since my last update, and I can't believe I'm back here so soon. Do you remember how I was debating whether or not to help my family with their restaurant troubles? Well, the universe decided to throw me another curveball. A week after Madison's visit, my parents showed up at my workplace. Yes, you read that correctly. At my office. Somehow, they found out where I work and just showed up in the lobby one afternoon. Talk about a shock to the system. My assistant buzzed me during a meeting to tell me 2 people were asking to see me. My heart nearly stopped when she mentioned their names. I felt like I was walking to my own execution. I excused myself and made my way to the lobby where I saw them, looking older, more worn down than I remembered. Dad was hunched over in a way I'd never seen before, and Mom's hair had completely turned gray. There was this thick silence between us as we just stared at each other for a moment. Finally, Dad spoke, his voice rough yet somehow small. "We need to talk." I took them to a nearby coffee shop because I didn't want this conversation to take place at work. An uncomfortable quiet settled over us as we sat down with our drinks. I wasn't going to make it easy for them. I waited for them to speak first. Mom broke the silence, her voice shaky. "We were wrong," she said. "We should never have kicked you out. We should have listened to you. We're sorry." Over the last 3 years, I'd imagined this moment countless times, but now that it was happening, I felt nothing. Just emptiness. No relief, no joy, not even anger. Dad added, "You should come back home. We can get through this tough time together, as a family." I took a sip of my coffee to buy myself some time. "Why now?" I finally asked. Why after 3 years of silence? They exchanged a look, and I could see there was more to this story than they were letting. They began to explain their desperation. The restaurant wasn't just struggling financially, it was failing completely. They'd overexpanded, taken shortcuts, and broken the law to keep things afloat. Tax evasion, health code violations, and shady dealings with suppliers had all caught up with them. Now, they were facing possible criminal charges on top of bankruptcy. Dad's voice was barely a whisper as he said, "We need your help. Your business knowledge, your connections, you could save us." I just sat there, stunned. The same parents who had rejected me, who had treated me like I was second-rate, were now asking me to save them. "Let me get this straight," I said, my voice shaky with disbelief. "You kicked me out, believed the worst about me without any proof, ignored me for 3 years, and now you want me to bail you out of your illegal activities." Mom reached across the table, trying to take my hand, her eyes filled with tears. "Please," she whispered. "We know we don't deserve your help, but we're family. We're at a loss, so please, family." That word again. But as I looked at them, I realized they were no longer my family. Diane had always been there for me, supporting me unconditionally. My real family was made up of the friends I had at work and in my MBA program. People who respected me for who I was. I took a deep breath. "I'm sorry," I said, surprised by how calm I felt. "But I can't help you. It's not just about money. You're asking me to sacrifice everything I've worked for, including my job and my values. I just can't do it." Their shocked expressions almost made me laugh. They clearly hadn't expected me to say no. Anger flickered in Dad's eyes. "After everything we've done for you," I cut him off. "What have you done for me?" "Denied me support for my education while paying for Sarah's, kicked me out on false pretenses, favored her my whole life." Mom started crying loudly. "Please, sweetie, we'll lose everything." For a moment, I felt a twinge of guilt. But then I thought back on the past 3 years. The hardship, the pain, the growth I'd achieved on my own. I stood ready to walk away. "I'm sorry you're in this situation," I said, "but these are the consequences of your own actions. I can't save you. We'll be ruined." Dad shouted as I turned to leave. "Is this what you want?" I stopped and turned back. "I want you to take responsibility for your actions," I said firmly. "I want you to understand what you lost when you threw me out. And what I really want is to be free from your drama and manipulation." I left them there, walking out of the coffee shop. And for the first time in a long time, I felt lighter. As I stepped onto the street, I realized I had finally chosen myself. I had set my boundaries and faced them head-on, but the story doesn't end there. I thought about that moment for a long time. I realized that simply walking away wasn't enough. Their actions were illegal, and if they continued, others might get hurt. So I made the difficult decision to report their unlawful activities to the authorities, police, IRS, health department. It wasn't an easy choice, but I knew it was the right one. The repercussions were swift and severe. Madison called screaming and crying, accusing me of destroying the family. My parents left me voicemails pleading for help 1 minute, threatening legal action the next. But I didn't back down. I reported everything I knew, making it clear I had no involvement in any illegal activities. Diane supported me through those tough weeks, reminding me that I was doing the right thing. The investigation is still ongoing, and the restaurant has reportedly been closed for a full audit. My parents and Madison are facing serious legal consequences. It's not a happy ending, but it's a just one. As for me, I'm doing well, better than well. My career is thriving. I've even had a promotion offer. I feel like I've found my true professional home thanks to the amazing support from my coworkers. Diane and I are planning a trip together, something to look forward to after all the stress. I won't pretend it's been easy. There are moments when I question if I made the right choice and feel guilty. But when I look back on everything they put me through, the manipulation, the favoritism, I know I made the right decision. So here I am. 3 years ago, I was lost and alone, evicted from my home. Now I'm independent, thriving in my work, surrounded by people who truly care about me, and free from my family's toxic influence. It might not have been the family reunion some expected, but this is my story and I'm proud of the progress I've made. If you're dealing with something similar, remember, you deserve to be free too. You deserve to make your own path, just like I did. Thanks for listening this far. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit that notification bell to stay updated on more real-life stories like this.